Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Rational Red. I am Michael, and today is the day after the night before. Man United lost 2-1 to Brighton at home in the FA Cup, as you all know. And it's tough times, isn't it? It's tough times. I don't even know where to start. There's a few things I want to talk about going off the back of last night. Obviously, the biggest discourse is around the club in general, the ownership model specifically, and we'll get into that a little bit. But first and foremost, I've said it in a couple of other videos, do expect a bit of a lull amongst the players as opposed to any kind of manager bounce, because most of the squad didn't want Amram sacked. They were annoyed when they found out that he was just sacked like that without any much time to think or whatever. And, when you're on a project together, you're building relationships and you're seeding foundations, to have that ripped away from you in a heartbeat is going to be disheartening. You can't expect all the players to be all G'd up and fired up because you've taken away from them something that they enjoyed. And so I don't know what to expect against City. We always have a habit of turning up sometimes at these big games, so I remain optimistic, but I think there's going to be this dark cloud that's over Old Trafford right now is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And I think the problem is like I mentioned in one of my videos yesterday, I don't really know where the positivity is coming from that can start to kill those dark clouds, because the ownership, the people that we would probably look to make decisions to help get rid of those clouds, they're kind of the ones making it worse. So yeah, it's tough times, and it's frustrating, but there we go. So a couple of things. So first of all, the Laceys situation, people are talking about that online, about his red card. Thankfully, a lot of people seem to be, don't worry about it, you're okay, you're a young kid, you're learning. I have no problem with it. I have more of a problem that he got the red card in the first place because of the referee. I mean, this idea that you get a yellow, if he kicked it into Rose Ed, all right, I can make my peace with it. But I mean, he literally, out of frustration, just slammed the ball on the floor. What is that for? You could clearly tell he's a young kid, right? His emotions are high. I'm not saying this is always a pass, but just take it for what it is in that moment. He's a young kid. He slammed the ball on the floor. It's not a yellow in my opinion. It's way too harsh. It should never have been a yellow. It should never have got him sent off. FA Cup, knockout football, not long left of the game. You really need to give him a red at that point for that. No, I'm sorry. I totally disagree with that. But what did he do? He had fight. He had spirit. He was determined to get the game carried on playing because he wanted to try and get us back in it and even try and win it. So I'm sorry, I've got no issues with that whatsoever. And, I love the fact that the crowd were behind him. Every time he got on the ball, the cheers that he got, people are supporting him. That is what we want to hear. That is fantastic. So he made a post apologising. I don't think he needs that. I mean, fair enough that you did. But in the bigger picture, I think the vast majority of us can tell you that you did a good job. We're sort of pleased to see that level of passion that you put into the game. But you got to be careful with this discourse around attacking players. I mean, Kobbie Mainoo's getting a little bit of a rinsing at the moment as well. So there's, again, fan base seems to be divided. Do we want him out? Do we want to keep him? And it's so reactionary. And you can't be surprised when a player who gets absolutely roasted online by their own fan base starts to have a downturn in performances. I mean, what do you expect? These are human beings you're dealing with. You can't just be there some idiot outside with a flipping garden machine. Of course he is. You can't expect when you're going in on players and tell you, shit, get out of my club, you're terrible, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's like, imagine you going to work and on your way in, as you're walking up to the door, there's a sea of people going, God, you're shit. You're so terrible at your job. Get out. You're so rubbish. You're absolutely shit. What are you going to do? Walk through the door like, morning, Sandra. How you doing? You okay? Yeah, I'm good. Cheers. Yeah. Looking forward to a good day. I mean, be realistic. Of course, it's going to affect them mentally. Now, I'm not saying they're not up for criticism. Criticism is fine as long as it's fair and just. But the blasting that some of our players get online by our own fan base that's so over the top. And then they go, God, they're playing so shit. I mean, are you for real? Of course they're going to play shit. You're literally tearing them to shreds, not giving them an inch to try and improve. It frustrates me. And I think that kind of culture leads to more of the downfall that we're trying to rescue ourselves from. So criticism is always acceptable. When you're in any kind of job you do, criticism is fine and fair as long as it's just. But to get aggressive and all the terrible things that go with that, how can you be surprised when a player looks devoid of enthusiasm or determination when their own are being absolutely vile towards them? So bear that in mind, because sometimes we're the victim of our own downfall if people play a part in that kind of nonsense, because there's just no need for it. But speaking of criticism, though, there's a video circling around of Gary Neville on Sky Sports, I think it was a couple of days ago, having a little dig at Ruben Amorim. Do you know what? It's so that the way he said it was so like, it just, for me, it just highlighted how it is like this, almost like a little nasty little boys club where they just pick and pick and pick and pick. Because the thing is, Ruben wasn't even talking about Gary Neville directly. He was talking about how the board are listening to people like Gary Neville, not Gary Neville's opinion of Ruben. And there's a significant difference. But the way he said it was so snidey, almost like bullyish. And I was like, that to me just highlighted what really goes on behind the scenes when the cameras aren't rolling. Everyone's entitled to their own personal opinions, but that was nasty, and it was misguided as well. And I just thought, we are never, ever, ever got a chance of succeeding with the manager when we've got this cohort of ex-players who are like just looking down in a circle around whoever's doing it, just picking. But where was the picking on Slot when he couldn't win a fucking game in his dreams? Where was the picking on Wirtz when he cost 100 and something million quid and had 0 GAs? Meanwhile, Sesko, who cost 80 million quid and had a couple of goals and assists on his belt, he's getting fucking analysed within an inch of his life every single week. Wirtz gets a pass. Where's the consistency? You can't and it's no wonder that some managers are like, I don't want to work at that place, because you've got this group of ex-players who are just on your case. You don't give you a chance. Ollie got a free pass because he's your mate, but the rest of them, every manager, and the contradictions and the hypocrisy as well, it's just like they need to take a step back, because whilst they're fully entitled to their opinions, we all know that their opinions hold more weight than the average pundit, and that's the problem. It shouldn't hold any weight. And if they're in the ear of someone like Wilcox, the idea that we have a board that could make decisions based on people like Gary Neville and others, I mean, here's the facts. You've got failed managers with horrific records telling managers who've won trophies how to do their job. Make that make sense. And then you've got people on a board who listen to that information and then act on it. That shows the unbelievable weakness and incompetence on their own part. If you've got a plan and it's going in the right direction, you ignore the outside noise and you stick to it. But no, they've bowed to it yet again. And seeing the way Gary reacted, I don't hate Gary Neville in any way, shape or form, but the way he said that about Ruben in that interview, listening to pundits like Gary Neville, I was like, listen to you. You've just exposed yourself, in my opinion. Just this bitterness. And it is almost like an agenda. And it's got to stop. It has to stop. Be a professional pundit all day long. Also, be fair. If you're going to give that level of criticism to Ruben, and you did sometimes give him some, like, yeah, they're doing all right. But then there was another thing he said, well, why do we need to give praise? He spent 100 odd million quid. Are you for real? We're not giving, you give praise when people have an upturn in performances. Now, so it's like you have an upturn in performances, and so we now can't say, it's just because of the money. Like, I don't get where this hypocrisy is, like where United consistently get more of a difficult run of criticism versus competitors who sometimes are doing worse, but they get more of a pass. It doesn't make any sense at all. Anyway, by the by, we all see it, we all hear it, and we're all fed up of it. That's the truth of it. As far as managers go, it looks like Carrick is going to lead the way. It's coming out today that Carrick is in pole position. Now, I don't know if that means it's going to be Carrick and Ollie, or a cohort of the three, or if it's just going to be Carrick on his own. I was all up for Ollie. I thought having Ollie on board would be actually a good thing. But as long as it was a trio, like him, Carrick and Fletcher, or Fletcher and Evans, whatever, just as long as he wasn't on his own, I thought that could work, get them all going again. Maybe this exactly the same thing will happen with Carrick. He's just as respected, and he might give the team the little bit of a push in the right direction for the rest of the season. Who knows? But I just feel a bit deflated of it all. I really just feel a bit deflated of it all. And so we'll see. Speaking of managers, though, going on to the future manager in the summer, we all feel that a good, proven Premier League manager is a must. And the two names that are cropping up a lot are Tuchel and Ancelotti. Now, I personally really wanted Ancelotti before Ten Hag came in. I just think he ticks all the boxes that we need. He's won Champions Leagues. He's got Premier League experience. Okay, of course he's not worked out in the Premier League, but there's nuances to that. It doesn't sometimes work out at clubs for reasons beyond your control. You can only work with the tools that you've got. So sometimes it's the case. Sometimes they failed because they didn't match the club. Whatever. Point is, their records speak for themselves. They can win. Even a Conte, but Conte is probably going to be more short term. But that also makes me think Tuchel could be more short term because he fell out with Chelsea. Our board currently seem to want a yes man, and they're going after managers who absolutely are not yes. You don't win a Champions League by being a yes man. So one of two things has to happen. Either the board change their stance and stop interfering. I mean, that video that's circling of Wilcox saying he sees himself as a coach, he can't help himself, he meddles. Well, I'm sorry, mate, but that has to stop. Because if we're going to try and get a best-in-class manager, we don't need a director of football who's not best-in-class at managing, telling a best-in-class manager what to do. That has to end. We are never going to get top managers coming in if they're going to be told, oh yeah, well, you do your thing, but like Jason will also probably have a hand in what you have to do. Like, mate, forget it. So hopefully they'll change the stance on that. If we get a yes man in, that means essentially Jason and his merry men are going to be running things, and okay, not looking forward to that. So yeah, so the other thing is, I saw a video of Steve Howson this morning. He made a really, really good point, something I hadn't really considered. If we're going for a long-term manager, as much as I really want Ancelotti, if he gets the job, he'll be 67 years old. Now, I know in modern day times, 67 isn't like super, super old, but it's not probably the greatest age if you're going for a long-term appointment, which is a really valid point. I never thought of that, but it's absolutely true. So who knows? I don't know what direction they go. But what do you consider long-term these days? 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? I don't know. I don't think you'll have Ancelotti at 77 years old, put it that way. So I think he'll well wanted to retire by then. So is that a good appointment? Because Pepper's done 10 years at City, he's still got plenty of mileage in the tank. If we get someone at 70 for 10 years, is Ancelotti going to be that guy? Probably not. So it's a valid argument. So I don't know. I guess the next 4 or 5 months is going to spin up some more names. Nagelsmann's another one, but he's not Premier League proven in my opinion. So I think it's another potential gamble. Man United is a completely different beast in every conceivable metric. And you have to get the right person in. Now, of course, you have to give people a chance because there could be some hidden gems out there that come in and turn the tide. I mean, look at Ferguson, for crying out loud. I mean, the whole club is based on the fact that they backed him when it looked like it was going terrible, but they stuck with it and he was a hidden gem. So you have to maybe sometimes take that risk, but I think we've taken that many risks that maybe now's the time to take the more tried and tested approach. That's my opinion. So yeah, so there we go. So that'll do it for now. I'll probably do another video if any more information comes out on Carrick, but I kind of said what I needed to say. I'm not particularly excited by it. I think it's just run-of-the-mill appointment just to get us through the end of the season. It's not going to drastically change who we are as a club, and they're going to go to the back four and try and play attacking football, of course, all that sort of stuff. But it's the general mentality of the squad right now that's more of an issue for me, not who's tactically in charge and what the setup is. I think there's a much bigger picture that's going to contribute to the performance on the pitch than the manager, in my opinion. So I guess we'll see. All right, folks, I'll see you in the next one.